Hey guys, I recently just passed my business and finance test. I took it January 15th of this year, about a month ago. I passed. I got an 84% on the test, and I had about an hour left of time when I finished. Scary when I had an hour left. The proctor came over and was like, "Are you sure you want to submit this? You have over an hour left of time. You want to review it once again?" I was sure of myself that I was like, no, I think I'm going to be good. And I think if I go back around and check the questions again, I think that's where I'll mess up and doubt myself and choose a different answer that will probably be wrong. So I just submitted it and walked out of there. They checked my books and I got an 84. I'll post a photo of my passing. They give you a piece of paper to show you that you passed. I wanted to just go over what I did to pass. I took a course online that helps you pass the test. It was a pretty good course, but I would say that the most helpful part of the course was the practice quizzes. I highly recommend, if you don't have a practice quiz, to make sure to buy a practice quiz or a simulator and just practice that over and over again. That's what I did. I probably did over 1,000 questions before I even took my test, just to make sure exactly what I was doing and how to navigate the book. I never read the contractor's manual, the whole book. I didn't read it. I pretty much knew how to navigate that whole book. I did read every single chapter in the accounting book. I took the practice quizzes after the end of each chapter in the accounting book. There's a questions at the back of each chapter. I read every single chapter and then took the quiz, because I personally was struggling with the accounting part. Every time I took the practice quiz, I was always failing the accounting part. And I felt that the only way to understand the accounting was if I actually sat down and read it and learned exactly. And mind you, I started studying in September. So it took me about 4 months to study and to pass the exam. And I was studying mostly an hour in the morning or 2 hours in the morning. And then some nights I wouldn't study. Some nights I would study for about 3 hours at night. I have my own full-time business, buying and selling land and houses. So I was doing this while running my own business. I found the time to do this. And if you really want to do this, you will find the time to actually study. Another thing that I do recommend is, when you're going for a specific trade, I am going to become a residential contractor. When you first get started in a school or anywhere, it is so overwhelming. There's 30 books and you don't know where to start. They're like, oh, you can just start whenever, you can do all of the things at once. And I don't recommend that. I had a friend that was a GC already, and he told me just start with the business and financing. And once you do that, then move on to the other books. So if you're in roofing, if you're in residential, don't get into the code books yet. Don't do any of that. Just focus on the business and financing test. Learn the contractor's manual, learn the accounting books, and learn the AIA documents. It's so much easier to just focus on one test at a time than to try to do all of them together, because your brain is just going to go crazy. It's so much information and it's just going to be overload for you. And so focus on one test at a time. Now I'm studying for the project management and contract management tests, and those I'm studying as one test because it's pretty much similar. And one thing I'll tell you is, some people will be like, oh, the business and financing is the hardest test. It is the easiest test of them all. I'm studying now for the contract management and project management, and it's so much. For business and financing, you only have, what is it, five books. The AIA document counts as one book, so you really only have 3 books you're studying. And then for the contract management and project management, you're studying, I don't know, 15 books, and 5 of them you can't even bring into the test. So you actually have to read and study and learn them. So it's such a big difference. So start with the business and financing test first, and then go from there. When I was taking the test, I would say 95% of the questions I already had highlighted or underlined, and that helped me so much. And most of the time, I knew exactly where to go in the book and the test. I was sitting there and I was like, all right, this question, I got to go to chapter 6. This question, I got to go to chapter 4. This question is in the AIA documents. This question is the accounting book. And most of them were exactly where I thought they were because I studied so many times and I took so many practice exams. You pretty much will know exactly where to go for each question. And I was going so hard in the test, flipping through my books, that my contract or manual actually broke the book. I think it's the seam. I broke the seam on the book because I was flipping so much in the test and going back and forth. And one thing I did do in the test was I saved all of my math problems for the end of the test. So I did everything first, and then at the end of the test, I did my math problems. And one thing I noticed is the math problems on the test are so much easier than what's actually on the like simulators and practice exams that people are selling. The math that I had was very simple, basic math. I think I had to use the straight line formula once. I had to look in the book once, and then the rest it was like, all right, this is basic math. I just need a calculator to do it. So don't stress yourself out on the math problems. It's pretty simple math. If you've graduated high school, you will probably remember a little bit of the math from high school. Another thing that I kept in my mind when I was studying for this exam is English is my first language. I speak a little bit of Spanish because my fiance is from Venezuela, so she speaks Spanish. And every time when I sat down and studied, I told myself, someone is studying this book that English is not their first language. Multiple people that don't speak English that well have passed the business and finance exam, and the books don't come in Spanish. The books only come in English. If English is your first language, you don't have any excuse as in why you're not passing the exam. Someone that barely speaks English is sitting down and studying these books and passing these exams. So if they can do it, you 100% can do it. You have an advantage over them. I kept that in my mind a lot, and it helped me thinking, hey, if they can do it, I can do it too. If I can do it, you guys can do it too. Anybody can do this exam if you put the time in and study. And another thing that I noticed is these exams aren't really about construction. These are all law exams. You're pretty much just following the law, and they want to know that you actually know the law. You're pretty much being a lawyer in these tests. So keep that in mind as well. So I am going to do videos on highlighting guides for all of the books for business and financing, the contractor manual, the accounting book, and then the AIA documents. I'm also going to make a WhatsApp group chat for anybody that wants to get added. I'll put my phone number down below. Just text my phone number and I'll add you to the group. I'm starting the group fresh, so the first few people, there's not going to be a lot of people, but I think that will be a great help for you guys to talk to other people that are studying for the exam and taking the exam as well. So thanks so much, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe down below, and I'll make the new videos as soon as possible. Peace.